So welcome to A Step into a Better World. This is a conference, an online conference that's all about shaping the next decade and starting with a great call to action as we step into 2021. We have today with us Monika Froehler from the Ban Ki-moon Center. Apologies, Monika, if I've mispronounced the surname. How would you pronounce it?
It's Froehler, but it's all perfect. It's all good.
So clearly I have a lot to learn in terms of pronunciation. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. This is part of our In Conversation series. This is a short In Conversation over coffee. We'll be asking Monika what her thoughts are on 2021 and also what the next decade looks like. Monika, you're the CEO of the Ban Ki-moon Center. People can find out more information about what the organization does by visiting the website. And if you want to connect with Monika directly, again, you can search for her on LinkedIn. For anyone watching this live or later, and you wish to reshare any posts or comments, whether that's Twitter or LinkedIn and other, please do remember to include the hashtags Quantum Effect, Step, and Better World. Monika, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Zubair, for the kind invitation.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you. We've heard so many great things about the work that the Ban Ki-moon Center is doing, which we'll talk about during our conversation. I want to get straight into this because I know, we've got so much to discuss and I know we won't get through all of it. So we'll continue those conversations in due course. I want to get straight into the primary conversation, basically, and main question is about this notion of us all being responsible and leading the world by example. We all have these positions of leadership and we're purpose-driven leaders, and people need to understand a little bit more about why we're driven and what is that purpose. So I guess my first question to you is, how have you recognized your responsibility to drive for a better world?
It's a brilliant question. I was reflecting upon it, and I think all of us have a certain narrative to tell. And my narrative probably starts with being the child of teachers, a teacher and a librarian. So indeed, I do have some kind of genuine effort that I wanted to showcase right from early childhood to provide others with knowledge and insights that I was allowed to enjoy. And my career somehow led me to start my occupation by working for the United Nations. I was studying and had my master's degrees and was immediately posted to the UN, and within the UN to the field of disarmament. And as you might know, that disarmament is a very male-dominated area, and I gained lots of expertise, yet the one realization that I had in the 8 years that I dedicated my life to abolishing weapons, from nuclear weapons to biological weapons to landmines to cluster munitions, the realization that I had was that I was working literally against technology. So whenever an innovation came up and whenever a technology was invented, we tried to somehow regulate it in the field of disarmament. And that was at times frustrating and really at times discouraging, because the moment something was abolished, a new innovation came about. And I took the opportunity, because of that kind of certain frustration, to move to politics, because I said to myself, in politics, I can shape the dialogue and I can change things from the get-go. So I actually made a swift move to the Austrian political scene and became press spokesperson of 2 state secretaries of foreign affairs. And here again, technology was of the key, and innovation. Why? Because not only were we positioned in a phase where we needed to use technology to talk to as many people as possible, meaning on social media, but also whenever we traveled abroad, it was clear that at the conferences, we would promote technological companies, export products that Austria has a niche expertise for. Mm-hmm. That was part and parcel of the game. And so yet I was working with technology and for technology. And the next sequence in my career path was very much going back to multilateralism and utilizing technology at its best. I was craving for multilateralism after the national kind of orientation that I had, and worked for sustainable energy for all. Sustainable energy for all is very much trying to reach people who don't have access to energy, who don't have the right energy efficiency modules yet in place, and who don't probably yet profit from renewable energy. So imagine the trajectory was from working against certain technologies to working with and for certain technologies. And as you can imagine, much more rewarding. Now, what manifested from all of my various experiences over the years that I was allowed to travel and interact with incredible people was that key to make technologies useful to the best degree possible, key to that is education. And here comes the mandate of the Ban Ki-moon Center. I am now privileged and really thankful for the opportunity to work with the former Secretary General of the United Nations on educating a new generation of leaders that can use the given technology and can use their innovative skills to put forward a better vision for humanity, which is also enshrined in the SDGs.
And I love this notion of how you've embodied using tech for good. You know, this idea of moving your passion and understanding and challenges and mobilizing technology that could be used in a better way. Do you think those people, so people listening in who don't have a background in technology, and I understand obviously that technology, the definition of technology today is very different to the definition of technology when we were growing up. It was all about computer chips and components. And now we use technology with innovation tagged together. So do you think that those people that are listening into us, who don't have a background in computers or science or traditional technology, can still play a role with the vision that you've kind of thought of? Is it something that anyone can be part of?
Absolutely. Everyone needs to be a part of it. We are encountering, unfortunately, nowadays still that women are often left out of technological developments. And yet the Ban Ki-moon Center particularly is focused on empowerment of youth and women, because we believe that they are absolutely crucial to close not only the technological gap, but the digital divide. And what does that actually practically mean? It means that we are looking at pioneering projects that are working really well and are trying to scale them. And maybe it illustrates quite well currently what the Global Teachers Award has come about. The Global Teachers Award, just on the 3rd of December, was awarded in London at the Natural History Museum, of course, with an online kind of conference, to an Indian teacher named Ranjit Disale, who has been absolutely incredible in getting girls on board and schooling them thanks to digital means. How did he do it? He was in a very remote village, had girls that many of them were married off prematurely. So childhood marriage was very much the order of the day. And the girls dropped out of school. They didn't have access to the books. And he managed to, with QR codes and codifying the books, to give them access to them, even remotely, even when a terror attack struck and they had to stay home. Child marriage decreased in the village that he was active in by 100%. The girls stayed at school. They went, even some of them, totally rural area, to university. And he, because he was an inspired IT guy, managed to actually involve kids and change their lives. So him being awarded that Teacher's Prize, and there is so much more to his story, but him being awarded is one of the cases in point where the Ban Ki-moon Center is happy to lend its voice to shed a light on people like him.
And I think that's a reflection of exactly what you were talking about in that context, that it's about creating inclusivity and accessibility. And I can see so many components of that happening. And I think that's a message for those that are listening that are apprehensive when it comes to technology, or have great ideas and don't know where to start, that you can mix and match all these different components. And like we were talking about earlier, it's about every one of us playing a role in that. And I think your point exactly about education is so important, that we need to educate ourselves and use platforms that are available to us to better understand what's going on in the world so that we can then play our part in that. And I think that's absolutely amazing. What's been your inspiration for all of this? And now I kind of know the answer to this because you alluded to this about what you were working on before and how you'd made the transition. But what's your inspiration? Because as I'm listening to you, I can see you're elevated and you're excited and you're completely in kind of this, I'm trying to think of the word, Monika, but you just seem so like, I must do this. It's like a mission for you, and I can see that on your face. What's your inspiration for doing this? Why?
You know, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are often framed as our plan A. And I think it's absolutely right to say that we do have a planet A, we don't have a planet B. And for our planet A, we only have one plan, and it's the SDGs. It's as good as it gets right now. And definitely it's something that we should strive for. On an individual level, what does that mean? It means that our challenges that we currently have are massive. But wherever there is a challenge, every business person, every entrepreneurial mindset will see the incredible opportunity. And this is exactly how I view it. The moment you spot a challenge and you manage to do something about it that benefits, best of all, the well-being of as many people as possible, that moment, that crucial moment, will actually lead you to not only empower yourself, but also others. The SDGs are like a world governmental program. We never had anything like that before. We had notions of it in the United Nations Charter. We had notions of it with the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, but we don't yet have, or we didn't have, a plan, and now we do have it. So hence, I do glow for the agenda. I know it's time limited, 10 more years. I know technology and innovation are enablers to make it happen, but I also know that the segment of society that we need to focus on right now is very much women and youth, to actually be able to benefit from exactly that plan A and to implement it.
Yeah, and like you say, we've got this matrix or this framework, the universal language, and I think that's the beauty of the SDGs, that certainly I like, that it's something that, whilst maybe not understood by everyone, but does bring everyone together, and then somehow we'll make sense of it. And like you say, we've got 10 years, but that's not a long time. Now, obviously, you've worked on a lot of initiatives in your time, and you are at the Ban Ki-moon Center. I can see, a lot of fit around education and the role technology and innovation plays. But in terms of some of the things that you've mentioned, like you mentioned, for example, having women and young people more involved and using technology and education to enable them, as it were. I'm sensing that there's this notion of we can't do this alone. And I'm a big fan of Goal 17, and that's my go-to goal for absolutely everything. It's always about collaboration, not just two heads are smarter than one. What do you need, or what type of ideal partnerships do you need to move that vision forward?
We need partnerships of global citizens, and global citizens are those that have a vision that goes beyond their nation, their tribe, their ethnicity, their own community, their family, but really stretches out into the vision for humankind. I know that might sound very idealistic and aloof, but that's the key. And as global citizens are not necessarily found in our leadership nowadays, we have people that say our nation first, or that really are driving just national interest. We believe that we need to raise a next generation of leaders with scholarships, with fellowships, with mentorship programs, with lots of education, to give them a genuine understanding of the SDGs, of global citizen values, and obviously of 21st century skills. So these three components, the global citizen values, the SDG knowledge, and the 21st century skills, will be crucial. And if you're asking me what 21st century skills are, very much technology and innovation plays into that. But it's also about collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, cooperation. So lots of the things that man and machine, or humankind and machines in their combination will make successful. And what I mean by that is, maybe let me give you an example. Alibaba, Jack Ma, maybe some of you know him. He said that he could only be as successful as he is as a businessman because, first of all, he involved women in his company. And secondly, because he realized that we need to work together with machines and to benefit basically with the human traits of creativity and of collaboration and critical thinking, etc. We have to benefit the capacities of IT, the capacities of artificial intelligence, the capacity of Internet of Things, etc. We need to merge them. And to do that, it is crucial to educate, 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 and let others shine and empower them.
Okay. Monika, we're nearly out of time, and I would love these conversations to continue, and we will. So don't think that we'll stop there. I want to throw a curveball because I'm really loving this conversation, and then I wish we had more time to talk about it. Some of the things that you've been doing at the Ban Ki-moon Center, but also how you've taken that journey. I want to just throw the curveball in there and ask you to cast your mind back to when you were a child, perhaps in your teens. Because you talked about empowering women and young people. And earlier you mentioned about you pick a point or a challenge that you come across in your life and you think, I want to do something. What challenge or at what point in your youth, and I'm assuming it must have been your youth, did you think, right, I need to change the world. I need to do something more than what I'm doing. Can you remember that day? It's
an accumulation of days. I wish it was that one story, but probably a definite emotional recognition was I almost died when I was 15 years old because I had a gas poisoning, a massive gas poisoning. And I remember when I woke up again, it was not clear whether I would survive that or had like any impediments, and I didn't. And I remember that from that day on, I realized every day that is given to me is a gift. I am on extra time. And I might as well use that extra time that was given to me to make other people happy. And how to best make other people happy is normally to get them like to have a shine in their eyes, to get them engaged with something they are already passionate about. And so probably one of the realizations that I carry with me is every day that we have is a gift, and every day we should try to further the well-being of as many other people around us as possible.
That's so amazing. That's such a kind of succinct vision and mantra of life that just make the life of someone else much better. So yeah, for those people that are listening, if there's good that you want to do, take Monika's example, lead by example, and make the life of someone absolutely amazing. I want to ask you another question, and you won't have prepared for this, and I usually like to ask this question right at the end. Obviously the SDGs, we've got 10 years to really change the world. So many indicators behind that as well. Many people already on the journey doing great stuff, but clearly we have a lot more to do. So this is the 2030 agenda. We can kind of see the finish line because we've seen a lot of action take place since the SDGs were kind of rolled out a few years back. But clearly we have a long way to go. What does this is Monika, individual person, not CEO of Ban Ki-moon Center, what does your 2030 look like, Monika?
My 2030 is a year where I can hopefully have a child at my side, and we travel to India, and I can tell maybe my daughter that child marriage has been abolished, and I can tell her that there is no worry about women not going to school. Everyone can go to school. And we would travel to the US, and we would maybe see the female president of the United States on television, and we would go to Africa, and I could lead her to villages as remote as wherever, and say that female genital mutilation is a thing of the past. It's not happening anymore, but the inscriptions that you see on the walls of the razor blades, that has been a real problem, but it's not anymore there. And I would hope that we are traveling, or we are settling again in Europe, and I can proudly say that the pay gap between women and men is not anymore prevalent, and there is everyone gets the fair pay for the same job. And so I think I would hope for a world where many of the things that I now see as possible actually have become true.
That's such an amazing vision to have. Monika, it's been an absolute pleasure having you chat with me today. Like I say, the conversation doesn't stop here. We've got plenty more to talk about and carry on some of these conversations as well. And I like your journey 2030 with your young daughter, and hopefully there'll be many people inspired by that as well. We already know that countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh have had female leaders, so maybe they can be inspiration to others as well. So for everyone that's listening, thank you very much for listening and watching. As I said earlier, if you're going to repost any comments, key takeaways, images, please do so with the following hashtags: quantum effect, STEP, and better world. Monika, is there a hashtag you want to throw in there as well for Ban Ki-moon Center?
The Ban Ki-moon Center has the hashtag just like its name. So hashtag BKMC. Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you for joining us today. Like I say, it's been enlightening, and I feel empowered and I feel energized to go and do some more good in the world. And let's shape the next decade together. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.